Good morning, folks, and here's a story from CBR.com about Star Wars The High Republic. And now, on StarWars.com, they're showing infographics connecting the characters, because there's so many characters and so many stories, you have to know what's going on, because apparently people can't read books with lots and lots of characters. It's too hard. I mean, the whole craze with Game of Thrones was just too much. Can't do it anymore. So we got to draw pictures for people so they can understand what's going on. I don't know why. Maybe they're bored. Maybe this is how the writers organize stuff and they decided to give it to other people so they can make infographics out of it. Fine. Nothing wrong with that. It's just okay. I mean, that's fine. So this Jennifer Roy is saying many Star Wars Legends novels include a timeline and a Dramatis Personae. The High Republic era now has infographics to keep track of the story. Now, if you don't know what a Dramatis Personae is, it's essentially a list of characters either at the beginning of a stage production or back in the day. They used to have films, 20s and 30s, maybe even the 40s, of people listed as characters in a play and how they're related. So you can go to something like this. You see, where is it? Well, here's an example here. Just go to the images of people in a play. And here's Leo, and he's a gentleman dude, and he's Quip, and he's a landlord. And here's Sugarloaf, and he's a socialist. You know, there's all these names. So you have a guide as you go through. Oh, it's this guy. Yeah, he's this. So you understand the relationship. Some of them have connections. They're together. Their wife and husband, their child and mother, all sorts of things like that. Now, this eventually evolved into the credits we get at the end of a movie to say the actors, and sometimes you get that also at the beginning of a play, depending. If you see the first opening of a play that no one has heard of, you might want to have a Dramatis Personae to keep track of who the hell's who, just because it's so big. Now, in Star Wars High Republic's concept, all they did was draw the connections between the Jedi Masters, the Jedi Knights, and the Jedi Padawans, and I guess the non-Jedi. Like, it's not really that important. Like, if you're reading a book and you're reading one of the High Republic books, and you read a story and the sentence is Nib Assok walks across the road, and he goes to find his Padawan, Buryaga. It's like, I don't need a visual representation. I'm not reading a comic book. You could just tell me the paragraph. I don't need to know all these things. So this is nice, but I don't know, like, what is the intelligence level and the memory of these people reading these books that they need a visual representation of all this? Like, here's Yoda, top right. Here's Lily Tarasi, I don't know, an anime chick. She's a Jedi Knight. It's like, okay. Do I need to know this? Here's Geode. It's a rock, and it's just there. Like, what? Why even bother if your infographic has a bunch of random characters that aren't relevant? But, you know, that's fine. That's cool. You can draw whatever diagrams you want to make sense of this shit. Because the problem I have with this, though, is the actual diagram itself. So here's the 4 lines, or the 4 ways of understanding this. So current Master Apprentice, so they show the connection, that's fine. Former Master Apprentice, okay, it's fine. Grand Master and member of the Jedi Council. So this yellow line, so there's a yellow line, I assume that's the thin yellow line. There's Yoda. He's got the yellow line too. And there's Douglas Sunvale. And they all have a yellow line. The problem is, in this diagram, they're also deceased. So there's only 3 Jedi Masters in this diagram for the High Republic, as far as we know. They're all dead except for Yoda. Additionally, not only are they dead in Jedi Masters, they no longer have Padawans, because obviously they're dead. So the infographic is invalidating or being redundant by saying a former Master Apprentice relationship, because they're frickin' dead. So what's the point? I don't know. If they could not read a story where we're told that Jorah Malley is a Jedi Master who's gone and used to have Reith Silas as their apprentice, I mean, what's the point of this diagram? I don't care. I don't really care who's who because I haven't read these books and it doesn't encourage me to do so. So this is just the one diagram of relationships between Jedi and their masters, apparently. I don't know. And the other diagram, because there's two, if you go to this website, here's the second one. Now, apparently this is a timeline. So you're like, all right, a timeline. Okay. There's a line. There's certainly lines, and there are words on the line. I don't know if this is happening in order. Like, is this like the past? Is it going forward or backward? I'm assuming it's forward. So this happened first, and then somewhere this happened second, and then this happened third. But there's no dates. I don't know when all of this is happening, aside from happening in a certain order. And then we have this. So all these, what is this? Whatever book that is, whatever book that is, whatever book that is. And that book. So blue, orange, and purple are all and white. And white is another book. Is all happening at the same time, called the Starlight Beacon Dedication. Great. That's great. I don't know what that means. And then you have this is a comic book or a magazine somehow associated with the first book and the blue. No, just the first book. Okay, it's bypassing the blue one. And another book and another magazine and whatever book that is. And they're happening in the future sometime. We don't even know. They don't even know. It's just in the future. Maybe the book hasn't been written. I don't know. So as far as timelines goes, this doesn't make too much sense. And it's stupid. Like this is redundant. I don't even know what this is supposed to mean. How you make sense of this. Is there a timeline? Like Yoda is alive, so it has to be somewhere between 0 and his, what is he, like 900 years old? I don't know. He's ancient. Would be nice to figure out how this all works out. But it's not a big deal. It's just a silly way for, I guess, the fans to understand what's going on if you can't pay attention. I mean, compare that to A Song of Ice and Fire. Because I'm just bringing it up because everyone knows about it. The books are huge. There's lots of them. And each of the books were broken down into the kingdoms and therefore the families of those kingdoms. So I don't even think these are in the books unless they might have redone the books and added these things. But these are actual family trees of who's who married who, how many kids there are, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't even think those are in the old books. So yeah, it's hard to follow, but people will buy these books and read them because they like them, not because, look at this fancy infographic. No, it makes so much more sense. And the funny thing is a story like A Game of Thrones can really benefit from something like an infographic because there's so much going on. Whereas a Star Wars novel or novella or comic, probably not necessary. You probably don't need to draw a lineage of geode or dead people. That's not necessary. You would definitely want to do that in Game of Thrones. There's all kinds of people, all kinds of families, all kinds of relationships, all kinds of sleeping around, all kinds of killing. Hard to follow. You might need a glossary at the end. That's probably the best bet. But for Star Wars, The High Republic, not the timeline's stupid, and this is just not that useful unless you're reading the book. And by that time, you don't need this because you're reading the book and you have a brain that can memorize words. Anyway, thanks, Jennifer Roy, but it doesn't really encourage me to pick up a book, nor do I think you're evolving storytelling very much by drawing pictures of lines between Padawans and Jedi Knights and Jedi Masters. Doesn't really help me that much. Anyway, thanks for listening. Have yourself a great day.